Kate Rorick. Let me tell you all about how fabulous Kate is. Kate is an Emmy Award winning writer, and she writes stories about modern motherhood. Her latest book was Little Wonders that came out in 2020. She's a television writer and producer, most recently for what was the show?
Leverage Redemption.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what the, addendum was to it. Leverage Redemption, but she's been on Marvel's Cloak and Dagger, and she also was on the I'm reading your bio, the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, and she also I know her. She was on this show that I really liked called Terra Nova. That I saw a million years ago. But we know each other as friends and as commiserators within the writing world. And thank goodness for our conversations that we've had. Hi, Kate. How are you?
I'm good, Cecil. How are you doing?
I'm good. I feel like I didn't name enough of your books because they're not on your website.
They are on my website. They're all on my website.
Not in your little Kate Rorick is your little tiny bio. But she writes these really great romance novels too, like Regency romances that I loved. I read one about the Lakes Country when I was on a train going up to the Lakes Country.
And that is how you should do it. Absolutely.
Oh, first of all, do you have a warm beverage or anything like that, or some kind
I have a lukewarm beverage. This is just lemon juice and sparkling water because I'm trying to be very good right now.
Perfect. I am having some wine because as I was whining to you before I started the thing, I'm having a little bit of a tough wrap my brain around things, and so I figured I would have a glass of wine. And this is in my Write Like a Motherfucker cup.
I love it.
Which is what we do very well.
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers. I was gonna say, is the sparkling is that your favorite, like, sort of go-to sort of refreshing drink?
Right now it is, like, when I'm trying to be like fairly okay. But like I like a nice Sauvignon Blanc when I can get it and whatnot. But I'm just, I'm doing that thing where you come off the holidays and you're kind of like, I probably need to wear these pants again at some point in time. I should probably make them fit me. So we'll do this for a little bit.
Oh yeah. I've been calling all of that stuff working on my Rubenesque, getting my
There you go. I just don't want to buy new pants, basically.
I know. And I agree. I actually had that thought today that I needed to get a new pair of pants because I can't fit into my other jeans.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just in my comfy jeans that are not snug, so, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is, so I ask everybody basically the exact same questions. So my next question is, and you can take this in whatever spirit you want. Who are you, Kate Rorick? And how do we know each other?
I'm Kate Rorick. I'm a writer. And that's how I know you. What a weird question. Who are you? Oh my God.
Are you?
I'm a dragon slayer. Thank you very much.
That's why I said you could take it in whatever way you want.
But I'm a writer. I'm somebody who's always loved stories, and that's just where I gravitated towards. And I always just loved movies. I always loved books. I always loved experiencing a story, losing yourself in a story. So that is basically what I ended up doing. I'm not fit for anything else, really. And I've written several novels, romance novels being my first love. So that's where I went. I've had a couple of kids, and so I started writing some books about being a parent. So my editor called them mom coms, and I was kind of like, yeah, that works. That works for me. And I write TV because I love it. And it's an entirely different experience than writing books, but there's so much crossover between those two things that in terms of form and function, that one really does sort of help the other for me. And I know Cecil because when I first moved to Los Angeles, I was on a show, writing on a TV show with Javi Grigio Markswatch. And Javi just had a bunch of random friends. And he's like, I need to get these random friends together. And we all started getting together and we all started writing in coffee shops together. And we've been doing that now for like 13 years.
Yes, it's something I've really missed in the last
I know.
2 years. I really can't wait for us to get back to sitting there and we call it shaming together, shaming ourselves into writing.
Yeah, we just sort of, it's like parallel play. We just sort of write side by side.
Yeah. And for me, it doesn't work on the internet. Like I have not been able to like sort of write silently with people on the internet. It's not the same sort of.
No, you want the atmosphere. You want like what's in your computer is one world. What's happening out here is another world. So to have them both kind of feels a little strange.
Yeah, the little clinks. And what I like about it is that, every once in a while, like we'll all be writing quietly, and then someone will like, can I ask a question? And then like we'll work something out for someone, like.
Yeah, I've done it where like I remember it's just like, what would you call it if I did this?
Mm-hmm.
And like somebody gives me the answer of what that is, and I was like, thank you, and I will keep writing.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. What came first? I'm curious, what came first? Did novel writing come first or television writing come first?
In terms of like where I got my start, they both happened really close to each other. I was working in TV and movies. Like I had a job working on a movie, and then I worked on a TV show, and then I was and these are all assistant like PA type gigs. And I wasn't making enough money to basically enjoy life, or pay my rent. I was barely paying my rent. I was living in New York City at the time, but I was like very, very poor. But writing is free. So I started writing a book, and it's basically took up my weekends for a year. You can tell I had a really great social life in New York. But by the end of it, I had a book, and I was working on a TV show as a script coordinator. And
which show was that?
That was Law and Order: Criminal Intent. And then I learned that I was getting that book published because I had figured out how to get an agent. I had figured out how to edit the thing. It's that process took another year. And I found out that I was getting published, and my boss, who was the showrunner, because the script coordinator works in the script department, saw that, and he's like, oh, maybe she can write. And then he let me pitch a story, and then I got to write that script. So I found out that I was getting a script and I was getting my book published like in the same month. So I was kind of like, okay, I guess I'm doing both of these now.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's sort of that was my start.
What was that first book?
Compromised. It was my first romance novel. So yeah, and when I say it took me a year to write it, yeah, it took me about a year, like 14 months to write the first draft. There was a lot of editing. It took me probably 4 years from writing it to seeing it published. It was, it took a little bit longer than what I said.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I mean, books take way longer than you think. I mean, I always say it's like, for me, when I was writing novels, it's like 2.5 years from like soup to nuts, but that was me doing it like all the time, not like having like another, situation.
Yeah. And that's like when you're under a contract for it too. So you're like, exactly. You have to turn it on this date and you've got this time to do revisions kind of thing.
So now, I just read your book, Little Wonders, which was fantastic. I loved it so much. And even though I am not a mama, I just felt like I so related to the characters. And I can't remember what the nerd mom's name is.
Daisy.
I was like, she is all of us. Like she is like, I felt like it was so lovely because it felt like I was hanging out with you, and I just loved it. And the way that you sort of like navigated the two voices in that book, and the way that there was like such heightened drama in preschool. Like it was like so intense. I feel like I learned a lot.
Preschool, when you're going through it the first time, is no joke. Like it's like, oh my God, I have to like now entrust somebody else to help form this child into a responsible adult eventually. And like there's so much stress and so much pressure. that you put on yourself, but also other like the outside forces are putting on you.
Yeah.
I mean, once you get to the second child, you can just sort of be like, yeah, you're going to school here, learn some letters. But with the first one, oh my God, I was so stressed out.
But it also seemed like what you really nailed in there, what I imagine and what I've heard from my parent friends, is that sort of like strange thing of being put together again with adults, that people that you don't know. It's almost like you're going to preschool and high school.
It is, because it's like you're experiencing making friends again.
Yeah.
Which you have now put yourself into a new subsection of humanity, which is the parent, and now you're going to have parent friends.
Yeah.
Like I have writer friends and I have some mom friends, and honestly, never the twain shall meet. It's very strange. Right. But yeah, it's you do, and you have to navigate that thing, because like if your kids are friends, you automatically as parents are sort of hanging out with each other, and you have to like be cordial and get along with each other. And then what happens if your kids don't like each other anymore, and when you and the mom have gotten to be really good friends but the kids don't hang out? It's like it's
so interesting. I loved it, and I thought it was such a beautiful book about friendship as well, and how you make friends and how you find sort of your thing, anyway, really wonderful book, Little Wonders. And it came out in 2020.
It came out in March of 2020. So some stuff was happening then. I don't remember what precisely. But I'm glad that you read it. I'm glad that the people that have found it. And I really enjoyed what it became, because it was a stressful book to write. It was one of my more stressful books to write.
Yeah, I remember having some like when we hang out briefly, just like some conversations about it. And I remember, I think you sent like cover images, because there were like a couple of different covers, and like you sent it to the gals and stuff. And I always like that thing. But that must have been hard, having a book come out right at the beginning of the pandemic.
It was. I mean, I wasn't so. It just got lost for me. The worries I had over the book got lost for me, and the worries I had for like life.
Yeah.
So I'm just pleased that it made it out. Honestly, that it's out there and that people can find it again now. But yeah, it was a hard book for me to write, because I must have like been hitting some emotional depths as I was going through it, because it's not easy feeling alone and responsible for everything. And it's not, and you realize everybody else is feeling alone and responsible for everything too, but you can't quite figure out how to weave together so you're not alone.
Yeah. Well, it's a wonderful, wonderful book. Now, that's your second mom book, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your first one again? I think I read that one as well.
It was called The Baby Plan.
Baby Plan. That's a great one too.
Thank you. I wrote that one when I was pregnant.
Yeah.
Because I used to be able to have an imagination and think of like far out cool things happening in space or in the Regency period. And now I'm just kind of like, well, I know stuff about kids, so I'll write that down.
One thing is that I feel like whenever I've gone on my trips, like I read The Baby Plan also when I was in England. And I feel like it's always good to take a Kate Noble book with you on a trip. It's like a perfect train read, like a perfect waiting for the plane read. So yeah, that's where I read that one, I'm remembering as well. Okay, so my next question, and you can pick whichever one you want of it, is what are you working on now, or what just came out? I think it's probably Leverage, right?
Yeah, I'm working on right now the second season of Leverage Redemption. We're in the writers' room and we're writing it. So that's what we're doing right now, and that's taking up the vast majority of my time.
And so for people who don't know what Leverage is, do you want to what's the pitch line of Leverage?
Sure. Well, it's Leverage was a show that originally ran from 2008 to 2012, and it's about a group of thieves and grifters and con artists who Robin Hood from the people that have been taking advantage of the people in society who haven't had much of a shot at anything. People who are being taken advantage of, really. And it ran for 5 seasons, and it was beloved, and we brought it back with Noah Wiley this time on it, and it's been a lot of fun to reflect on these characters in this world right now. Because like the past 8-9 years have been in terms of the show have been these 8-9 years where it feels like crime has not only gotten more pervasive, but like in terms, it's also gotten kind of legal. And the people that are committing the crimes aren't committing crimes anymore because they have bent the rules so that they're in their favor.
Wow, that must be so interesting to like kind of look at it through that lens. And messed up, like probably messes with your one.
There's a lot of research that goes into each episode, and you're kind of like, man, this is just demoralizing. What people do.
That's what I would imagine.
What makes the show fun is like the characters and how they are this wonderful little family that they've created for themselves, and they're hysterical, and they joke about everything, and they riff on each other, and it's a lot of fun spending time with these characters. And a bad guy gets like punched in the neck every single episode, so it's satisfying in that way too.
Yeah, exactly. The bad guys get punched, so that's good. Okay, so you're working on that. How do you figure out what you're gonna work on, if you're doing your own creator thing, or if you're selecting a project that that you might work with? I know it's not like, always like you can choose anything that you want to do, but like, how do you figure out what you're going to work on next?
I mean, it's a matter of priority. I'm sure you know this, is that like, well, you've got 4 or 5 projects going at any one point in time. You've got, irons in the fire that you're working on. So it's a matter of saying, all right, this one needs to be done now more than this one over here, even though this one is shiny and bright over here. You've got to like focus and pay attention. But I in the past, like every single time I had a hiatus from a television show, I was writing a book, because writing a book was a relief from television, and then when I was done with the book, I was relieved to go back to TV.
Yeah.
Just to move between the two. In terms of like what I would want, like how I would focus and choose, I think it's like if I have an idea and it speaks to me, like if a character speaks to me at this point in my life, that is when I want to tackle it.
Yeah.
Because if I tackle it 5 years from now, I'm going to look at it differently than I did before. I
think that's a really good point, because I think that like, we tell stories with more bite when it's actually something that's like we're kind of obsessed with, or like that, like a life thing that we want to work out in some way.
Yeah, there's a reason I wrote the baby plan when I was pregnant.
Yeah,
because if I did it now, it would feel very strange to me to like be plumbing the depths of like what a pregnant woman is going through.
Right.
When I was writing it before, it's like I knew exactly what was happening.
Right.
I like with my body, with my mind, with the pressures that you're under, with like the million emails you get describing your child as a fruit size. It's like you really do sort of like want to be in the moment with it.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm working on a book right now that's like sort of like examining something that happened to me like 12 years ago, a not so nice time in my life. And like, I don't think I could have written it then, like I can only have written it sort of
in
now.
Reflection.
Yeah. In the reflection, definitely couldn't have written it on the moment that it was sort of happening.
Yeah. I mean, there are things that you come to when you're ready to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And also it's like, I kind of come to work on things too, where it's like, oh, well, this will pay my rent for the next,
there's a practical aspect of being a professional creative person.
Yeah. So it's like, I like to do this, but
it's wonderful. It's wonderful to get to be able to be creative for a living, but there is the aspect of it that is for a living.
Yeah.
And you have to be realistic about that.
Yeah, totally. Yes. So okay, do you have what's your process when you're writing a story, or do you have a theory about writing, or what's the best advice that you ever got, or that you constantly give to people in terms of writing?
Um, I've had a couple of people come to me and ask, it's like, I have this story for a book. Like, how do I get it published? And I was kind of like, write the book. That's
Right.
the first step on how you get it published. Um, it's you just put pen to paper, put fingers to keyboard, ass in chair is what is going to get the job done. Um, you're not you're not doing your job if you're not actually doing it. I mean, there are parts of writing, there are parts of being creative that are, I have to mull this over, I have to think about this, I have to give it that attention. But you actually have to do it too. You have to type.
I mean, I think it sounds like such basic advice, but it's actually the most important advice that one can get, is that you have to actually do the work. No one else can write for you. You have
Yes.
to write yourself.
And no one, and you can't skip it. You can't skip ahead and say, oh, I'm going to write 10 scripts and number 11 is going to be my best one. And that's the one I'm going to send out to people. Well, you got to write the first 10 first. You can't skip the 10 to get to number 11. And when you are actually writing, when you get into a flow, when you get into a rhythm, you are working muscles. You are working things that are like, once you have them stretched and ready to go, it's like, you can keep doing it all day. I know that like when I'm writing a book's about, for me, a book is about 100,000 words. When I'm getting down to the end of the book, I'm writing 2,000-3,000 words a day, easy, just because I know the flow of the story. I know where I'm going. I know I'm going to get to the end. And then I get to the end and I stop and I'm kind of like, wait, I could write another 3,000 words today. Let's just keep going. Come on. Let's just keep typing. And I feel really bad when I stop because I know it's going to be so hard to get that engine going again, 3 weeks, a month from then when I start on something different.
Feel a little jealous of you, because I don't know that I ever have that moment where I'm just like, I'm limber, I'm ready to go. Like,
Oh,
like
it's a warm up every day.
yeah.
I will tell you that, but it's also kind of like, this book is due in 2 weeks.
Right.
Well, you've got 15,000 words to write. Let's go.
Yeah. No, that is definitely like a different kind of thing. But one thing I'm really realizing lately is that I'm a morning writer,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had a lot of Zooms meetings, and things like that, where they want to like meet with me at like 9 a.m. Pacific time, and they're like, you'll have the whole rest of the day to write. But it's like, you know what? Then my day is shot. And so I'm really trying to be really vocal about like sort of protecting that space, because I know that like once I get past a certain time when I'm like in that, then it's like I'm not good for anything else. So I can do like the business emails and the like the sort of maybe little revision or whatever, but that creative juice, I need to do it at the beginning of the day.
See, I have very rarely done it at the beginning of the day, and I feel amazing after I do. I feel like I have the rest of the day. I feel like I'm unburdened. I'm not worried. But usually I'm writing between like 10 p.m. and 2 a.m.
Wow.
Like that is when like the world is quiet. I could be like in the comfortable position on my couch and just be typing kind of thing. And it's like nothing is going to interrupt me.
I mean, I guess the point is that we already know is that everybody's different, and
Yeah.
everybody's got like a different way of doing it. But I do think it is like important, because I have had people say that to me too, where they're talking about all the other things about writing. Well, when this gets published, and when this, and like when I have to go to all these things, I'm like, yeah, but you haven't written anything yet. Like you
Yeah.
have to like actually do that. Um, okay, is there anything during the pandemic that you learned, or that that you did that was wildly different than you normally did? Like I gardened a little bit badly.
Um, Not, I mean, here's what we did. We got out of town, and usually my family has a summer house in northern Michigan, and we went there And instead of going there for 3 weeks, we went there for 3.5 months. We stayed there as long as we could until like it got too cold and the pipes were going to freeze. So that was a very interesting change of pace in terms of like experiencing that place in a different way. And it was very good for my kids to be in a different place and to get outside at the height of the pandemic, when, you know, we're doing Zoom school and everything's hard and whatnot. It was just like, but I can at least like let them go outside and just run around. And they'll be fine.
That is like a different thing. That is a thing that you did during the pandemic. That's probably also a little bit of I would imagine, like a treasured memory of the pandemic.
Well, it's interesting. Like I know for a fact I'm probably never going to be up there again in November. Yeah. So that's a different thing for me. My kids, I hope they remember the Halloween that we had up there, because it'll be one of the very few Halloweens that they've ever had that's like that.
Yeah. Amazing. I love it.
We did that. Yeah, we did that. That was different. And we did some like road trips because we drove across country twice over the course of this 2-year pandemic. And, you know, we hit Meteor Crater, we hit Mount Rushmore, we hit these things. And it's kind of like, we've become road trip people. I always thought I was a plane person, but I guess I'm a road trip person now.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This is like the zig and the zag of like, you know, of the pandemic. I mean, you know, one of the projects that I've been doing that I never thought I would do on my entire life is watch every Disney movie in order.
Which I love, by the way. I'm just like, I follow you on Twitter when you do that all the time. It's kind of like, what movie are we at now? Where are we in the 90s?
Yep. It's actually the next film is Angels in the Outfield, and it's not really available anywhere. So I have to find it through nefarious
it's not on Disney Plus?
Nope. I have to, it's not, you can't rent it anywhere. So, you know.
I wonder why.
I don't know. There's been a bunch like that I've had to like, you know, boop, 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 like dig through the internet to find them, or like, you know, try to get a DVD of it somewhere. Okay, what is there, I mean, I have it, I'm sure you have it. Is there one project that you've done that you wish had a little bit more love on it? I mean, Little Wonders could be an obvious one because, you know, pandemic, whatever, but is there like a project that you've done? It can be a television show, it can be one of your novels, that you just sort of wish had gotten a little bit more sort of spotlight on it?
I mean, I wish Cloak and Dagger had gotten a 3rd season.
Yeah, that was a good show.
I really enjoyed working on that show. That was a special room to be in. I mean, on all of my books, like I wrote a couple of my early romance novels. I'm just kind of like, these are really good. I would love it if they got a little bit more like attention and whatnot. But to be fair, I am not the world's best marketer. I'm not the world's best, you know, engager on social media. So I have a lot of problems. I'm mostly kind of like, oh, well, I wrote the book. I put it out there. Have fun. See you later. Hope people find you. But I'm terrible at being the promoter of it.
I think it's hard. And that's like a very special skill. I mean, like I mean, I don't think I'm that great a marketer of my things, you know.
Well, you're way better than me. Like you've got like you've got far more presence, and you've got like far more range of engagement, I think, than I do.
Thank you. But you know, but like I don't, you know, it's like I don't have like the bing, like, you know, hashtag this, that, the other. I mean, even for this thing that I'm doing, it's like, oh, I guess people would probably have like their own channel and their own this and that. And it's like, I can't do that. I just want to talk with my friends about art, and people will find it. And that's how I feel. But I also feel like about books, and like with Cloak and Dagger, it's there for people to find, you know, people, you know, and I would highly recommend Cloak and Dagger. I really loved that show. Did you shoot part of that during the pandemic? No, yes.
No, that one shot in 2018.
Oh, 2018. Okay.
Yeah.
It was was it Leverage that you were doing something, right?
But I was doing Leverage season 1 during the pandemic.
Right.
And now season 2.
Yeah. Fascinating. Okay. So is there anything that you're currently, it doesn't have to be a book or movie or TV show, but it can be. But are you obsessing about anything right now? Is there anything that just like, you're just like, oh my God, I just can't get enough of making blueberry pies or like whatever it is?
I don't know. I'm working my way through all of the Oscar screeners.
Oh.
Let's see. I recently watched a lot of Catfish because one of my friends said that it was in like they had watched it. One of my fellow writers in the room was like, well, maybe I'll give this a shot because it's essentially about people conning people, and you want to, and that's part of my job is researching cons and stuff. And I ended up watching, I think, probably 100 episodes in a row, and I'm just like, why did I start this? This is not a good idea. You're never going to stop.
Did anything make its way? Did anything sort of enlighten you for the job?
I mean, just the amount of just the way that the internet allows you to be anonymous, and there's a lot of people to con out there, and there's a lot of people who are trying to take advantage of other people, and they all have their own reasons to do it. Like it's some people are trying to are just not comfortable with who they are, so they present somebody else. Some people are trying to catch a cheating partner. Some people are straight up being like, yeah, I'm scamming people for money. I talk to them, and I tell them at the point, oh, my car broke down, send me $300 kind of thing, and that happens. It's all very low level, but it's all like, but it's all emotional for the person that's being conned.
Of course. Feelings of vulnerability,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it makes you not want to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And makes you like grateful that you're not trying to date in this era of the internet.
Which is why I just don't. Okay, so my last question, second to last question, but last question is if you were not a writer, if you were not a storyteller, is there any other art field that you would have liked to have been, or any other profession?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a Disney animator. I wanted to draw, and I was pretty good good at it up to a point, and I just didn't take it further than that. But that was part of my I love movies, I love stories kind of thing. But I've always drawn. I would do that. I would do like ceramics. I've done a little pottery. Nothing. I don't have my own wheel or anything, but I do enjoy the tactile sense of that kind of art, of building something like that. But
that's so cool. I love that. Okay, so one of the Disney movies that I saw, I think it was number 4, was The Reluctant Dragon. And in The Reluctant Dragon, they actually, like, half of it takes place at Disney Studios, where they have like all the animators, like they walk you through the whole process of making.
And they sit there and like, I've got a yellow legal pad here, but they sit there and just go, I'll draw this, and then I'll look back all the pages, and I'll go back, take all the pages before, and they all match, and like you could see the sequence of it all happening. Yeah. I had a million animation books when I was younger, and I had very supportive parents who were like, well, she's not going into the military like the rest of us or the sciences, so
better feed the animation.
Feed like, because at least that's art with a job attached to it.
Yeah. And it's kind of military like, right? It's like you've
got to produce a certain number of pages a day. So
yeah, I love it. Kate, thank you so much for talking with me this evening about art and process. It's amazing to catch up with you. I know you've got to go pretty soon, but can you please, even though you say that you're not a very good marketer, can you please let me and all my friends or all 5 people who are watching or listening to this know where they can find you on the internets?
Okay. I am on Twitter and Instagram as at Noble Rorick, NobleRorick. And that's really like the only places I hang out on the internet. I unfortunately do not have a TikTok. I don't quite understand TikTok yet.
Me neither.
But that's basically where I am.
And then also at your website, right?
Yes, you want to check out my website. It does have all my books listed there. Thank you. Yes.
I just meant in the little bio part, not in the book section.
But you don't put it all in the bio, because like then you're like listing extra information. There, you go to the book section to see all the books.
You're right. You're right. When you're right, you're right. You're right. Well, anyway, thank you so much. I love learning more about you, and I can't wait to actually see you in the human flesh.
That'll be wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's get through this latest spike, please. Thank you.
Let's do it, and then let's go and have a coffee or a wine or a Sauvignon
or a drunken night of debauchery that we can't remember the next day, but we wake up on the beach.
I love it.
There's a dead body far away, but we don't know it.
That sounds like a trip to Hawaii. I think that's what that sounds like.
We accidentally got on a plane drunk and we don't remember it, but we woke up in Hawaii.
I feel this is very plausible.
Yeah, at the White Lotus Resort, please. Yes.
Yeah. Except less murder. All right. Well, I love you, and it was great to see you. And I'm gonna stop the recording now. So hold on. I have to figure out how to